Alright, so this is a lesson on standard form, and we're going to start out by giving the standard form equation, and that is going to be ax plus by is equal to c. And there are some restrictions with regards to what a, b, and c can be. Alright, in the standard form, a, b, and c are coefficients, and they have to be integers. So we're going to say that r integers. Okay. What that means is that we cannot have any fractions or decimals when we're writing an equation in standard form. Okay. Usually in standard form, the a is going to be non-negative. Okay. So a would have to be greater than or equal to 0. Okay. There is also one other stipulation that a and b cannot both be 0. Okay. So since we said that, what we're actually going to do is we're actually going to take away that part. Well, we can leave it as equal to 0 because if we only had a y, then a would be greater than or equal to 0. Okay. Alright, so we're going to take a look at a few examples here, and we're actually going to just write these equations in standard form. And I'm going to write this up here, ax plus by is equal to c. Alright, so in order to write this in standard form, we have to get x and y on the same side, and then our constant terms that do not have any variables will go on the other side. Okay, so we're going to start out by drawing in the river here. And we're going to subtract 3x from both sides. Now if you notice in this standard form, we want x first and then y. So when I do this, it's going to be negative 3x plus y equals 7. Okay. And if you'll remember correctly, I did say that a had to be greater than or equal to 0, which means that a cannot be negative. So in order to get rid of this, what I'm going to do is multiply by negative 1. Okay. When I multiply by negative 1, it changes all the signs, and so what I'm going to have left over is going to be 3x minus y equals negative 7. Okay. And there's our answer for example A in standard form. Okay. If we take a look at example B, okay, notice there's a lot of fractions. We're actually going to wait and take care of the fractions at the end. Okay, so again, we'll draw in the river, and then we'll start moving things. So the first thing I'm going to move is I'm going to move the x to the other side. So in order to do that, we add 1/2 x to both sides. That will give us 1/2 x plus 3/4 y equals 2. Okay. Now, at this point, x and y are on the same side. The number without the variable, the constant term, is on the right-hand side. So we're in good shape so far. The next thing that we have to do is we have to make sure that that x is not negative. Okay, and if we look here at this 1/2 term, the x term is not negative, so we're okay there. Now the other thing is they all have to be integers. So since they're not integers, we're actually going to have to multiply by something to get rid of these fractions. Okay? If we multiply everything by 2, that takes care of the 1/2. However, that does not take care of the 3/4 right here. So what we're actually going to multiply by is the least common multiple. Okay, and the least common multiple of 2 and 4 is going to be 4. So we're going to multiply by 4. When we do that, we're actually distributing to each term. 4 times 1/2 would be 2x. 4 times 3/4 would be 3y. And 4 times 2 would be 8. Okay. So there's the equation for example B in standard form. Alright, these last few examples, what we're going to do is we're going to take the equation that's in standard form or put it into standard form, and then we're going to talk about how we would get the x and y-intercepts and the slope from the equation that is in standard form. Alright, so when we look at C, we're looking at this, and this is already in standard form, ax plus by equals c. Okay, so there's a couple different ways that we can figure out the x and y-intercept and the slope. The first thing I can do is actually the slope is going to be negative a over b, which would be negative 2 over 4, which is negative 1/2. Alright, to get the x-intercept, set y equal to 0. Okay, or we could do what we call the cover-up method. Alright. I don't want that. Let me get a rectangle here. Alright. So we're going to take that and cover that up. You go ahead. Alright, so if we cover up the y term by setting that, we would have 2x is equal to 12. So that means that x would be 6, so that would be the x-intercept. Then we would do the same thing for the y. So the y-intercept, set x equal to 0. So again, we can either set it to 0 and then solve the equation, or we could use the cover-up method again, and we would have 4y equals 12, which means that y is going to be 3. Okay, so there's my x-intercept, my y-intercept, and there's my slope. Alright, if we take a look at the next example, the next example is not quite in standard form yet. So what we're going to have to do first is get it into standard form. Do that by taking away 3y from each side. Okay, so that gives us 2x minus 3y equals negative 9. And what I'm going to do this time is I'm actually going to write out what a, b, and c are. Alright, so in this case, a is 2, b is negative 3, and c is negative 9. Okay, so slope be negative 2 over negative 3. The two negatives make that positive, so it would be 2/3. X-intercept is going to be c over a, which is negative 9 over 2. And then the y-intercept would be c over b, which is going to be negative 9 over negative 3, which is 3. Okay? So there's the x-intercept, the y-intercept, and the slope. Alright, the last example we're going to talk about, we have 3y is equal to 12. Alright, so if we take this, if you notice there is no x term, so that means that a is 0, b is 3, and c is 12. So when we do the slope, it's negative a over b, which is 0 over 3, which is 0. And when we get a slope of 0, we know we are dealing with a horizontal line. Okay? So if we go further with this, the x-intercept is c over a, which is 12 over 0, which is undefined. And if it's undefined, that means there is no x-intercept. Okay. Alright, for the y-intercept, it would be 12 over 3, because that's c over b, which is 4. Okay. Alright, so if we take a look at this in the graph, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright, that's your exponential y. This is going to be a horizontal line and it's going to have a y-intercept of 4, so it's going to go right there. It's going to be straight across. Alright, so there's a lesson on standard form.